Acharya Thakur. Hey no Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur. Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanata Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanata Kaha Dasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan. Kaha Dasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan. Kaha Mora Bhata Juga Kaha Kaviraj. Kaha Mora Bhata Juga Kaha Kaviraj. Eka Kale Kota Gela Goranataraj. Eka Kale Kota Gela Goranataraj. Hasane Kutipo Mata Anale Pasibo. Hasane Kutipo Mata Anale Pasibo. Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Babo. Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Babo. Se Saba Sangira Sange Jekoilo Vilas. Se Saba Sangira Sange Jekoilo Vilas. Se Sanga Napaya Kande Narottamodas. Se Sanga Napaya Kande Narottamodas. Deyanilo Premadana Karuna Prachur. Deyanilo Premadana Karuna Prachur. Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur. Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who is filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality, such as Srinivasacharya, gone? Where are my Sarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatana? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where is my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I'll smash my head against a rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to attain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottama Das simply weeps. Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, 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 Vaishnav Thakur. Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Jayam Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Parivrajikacharya, Shotatara Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashotatara Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Ki.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki.
Jai.
Shri Rup Shri Sanatana. Shri Rup Sanatana. Raghunath Das. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami Ki.
Jai.
Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Ki.
Jai.
Rahim Sagaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki.
Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shamakun, Radhakun, Giri Govardhan Ki.
Jai.
Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki.
Jai.
Mayapur Dham Ki.
Jai.
Ganga Mai Ki.
Jai.
Mai Ki.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi Ki.
Jai.
Harinam Sankirtan Ki.
Jai.
Transcendental Book Distribution Ki.
Jai.
Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki.
Jai.
Nitai Gaura Premanande.
Hari Hari Bo.
Glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories.
Hari Hari Bo.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Unti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Utiraye Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. So we are continuing our study of the first canto, 13th chapter, entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home, and we are on the 25th verse. Please repeat. Tashapi tava dehoyam pripannasya visho pari ait anachato jirno jaraya va Shasi Iva. Tashapitava dehoyam Vipanashya Jigish Visho Parait Anichahato Dirno Jaraya Vashasi Iva. Tashapitava dehoyam Vipanashya Jigvisho Parait Anachahato Dirno Jaraya Vashasi Eva. Please chant.
Hare Krishna. Tasyapito dehoyayam kripanasya jijivisoha paratya anichyato jirno jaraya vasasiva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tasyapi tavo deha ayam kripanasya jijivaso para iti anachichihato dritono jarayo vashasi eva. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Tasyapi tava dehoyam kripanasya jijivisha paraiti anichata jirna jaraya vasasiva.
Hare Krishna. Tasyapi tava dehoyam kripanasya jijivino paraiti anichato jirno jarayad vasasi iva.
Hare Krishna. Tasyapi tava dehoyam krupanasya jijivishoho paretyannichhato jirno jaraya vasasi iva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
तस्यापि तव देहोऽयं कृपाणस्य जिजीविषो परित्यानिच्यतो जीर्णो जरया वाससि इव. हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण. तस्यापि तव देहोऽयं कृपाणस्य जिजीविषोः परित्या अनिच्यतो जीर्णो जर्या वससि इव.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, can you please make it a little bigger, the font page, please? Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna. Tasyapi tavo dehoyam kripanasya jijivishoho parataya anichato jirno jaraya vasashiva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Tasyapi tava dehoyam kripanasya jijivisho parityannichhato jirno jaraya vasashiva.
Thank you. Synonyms: tasya, of this, api, in spite of, tava, your, deha, body, hayam, this, kripanasya, one who is miserly, jigvishaho, of you who desire life, par aiti, will dwindle, ani chataha, even unwillingly, jirnaha, deteriorated, jaraya, old, vashasi, garments, eva, like. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live even at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment. Purport. The words Kripan Asya Jig Vishaho are significant. There are two classes of men. One is called the Kripana, and the other is called the Brahmana. The Kripana, or miserly man, has no estimation of his material body, but the Brahmana has a true estimation of himself and the material body. The Kripana, having the wrong estimation of his material body, wants to enjoy sense gratification with his utmost, and even in old age, he wants to become a young man by medical treatment or otherwise. Dhritarashtra is addressed herein as a Kripana, because without any estimation of his material body, he wants to live at any cost. Vidura is trying to open his eyes to see that he cannot live more than his term and that he must prepare for death. Since death is inevitable, why should he accept such a humiliating position for living? It is better to take the right path, even at the risk of death. Human life is meant for finishing all kinds of miseries of material existence. And life should be so regulated that one can achieve the desired goal. Dhritarashtra, due to his wrong conception of life, had already spoiled 80% of his achieved energy. So it has behooved him to utilize the remaining days of his miserly life for the ultimate good. Such a life is called miserly because one cannot properly utilize the assets of the human form of life. Only by good luck does such a miserly man meet a self-realized soul like Vidura, and by his instruction gets rid of the nescience of material existence. Om Agana Timbarandasha Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umiliyatam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Swapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhuvyeva Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is very powerful preaching we're seeing here by Vidura to his brother Dhritarashtra. And I wanted to take a moment just to read through several verses to understand the gravity of the talking that he's speaking to his brother. He's his older brother. And Vidura had been sent away. He decided to leave because the circumstances in the palace were not conducive anymore for him to live there. And he returned after all the battles had taken place. Krishna had left this world. And he understood, and then once he had met the great sage Maitreya Rishi and had become self-realized due to his association and instructions, and he felt that the circumstances were right for him to re-enter and try to save his older brother, from the pathetic condition that he was now living in, trying to hold on to his life, which is clearly very much changed by the condition of time. So I'm going to pick up from text 18. It's very short, but it really, I think the more we read this, the more powerful we'll understand these words of Vidura. And sometimes they say mercy comes in the form of compliments. It's like getting mercy from the front. And that's the type of mercy everybody likes. You know, you get the blessings. Somebody says, you did a very good job. We're very proud of you. We're very happy with you. You know, you should feel good. Please continue doing what you're doing in your service. And we feel very good about it. The hardest type of mercy to receive is the mercy that comes from behind, where we kind of get kicked from the back. And sometimes our ego prevents us from actually seeing how important that is. And that without this combination of both, chastisement and encouragement, if it's just simply just encouragement, the false ego may actually believe to think, oh, I'm the doer. And you may become attached to glorification, recognition, etc. But without the chastisement, there's oftentimes little room to grow, especially if we become stubborn in our thoughts and our actions and habits. Sometimes it's the Lord's mercy, to get us out of the ditch that we're stuck in, that we need a push from behind. So Mahatma Vidura knew all of this, and therefore he addressed Dhritarashtra saying, my dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. Just see how fear has overtaken you. This frightful situation cannot be remedied by any person in this material world. My Lord, it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead as eternal time, Kala, that has approached us all. Whoever is under the influence of the Supreme Kala, eternal time, must surrender his most dear life. And what to speak of other things, such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home. Your father, brother, well-wishers, and sons are all dead and passed away. You yourself have expended the major portion of your life. Your body is now overtaken by invalidity, and you are living in the home of another. You have been blind from your very birth, and recently you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened, and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose, your liver is defective, and you are coughing up mucus. Alas, how powerful are the hopes of living in a alas, how powerful are the hopes of a living being to continue to live his life. Verily, you are just like a household dog, and you are eating remnants of food given by Bhima. Here, there is no need to live a degraded life and subsist on the charity of those whom you have tried to kill by arson and poisoning. You also insulted their married wife and usurped their kingdom and wealth. And then today's verse. Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live, even at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment. That's what they call straight talk. When they say, let's talk straight, let's not mince words. Let's not, let's remove all of the, flowery, flattery type of talk, and let's get straight to it. And he gave him the cold, honest truth of his condition. Dhritarashtra was living in a very, let's say, pathetic situation. And Vidura is pointing out that, you're doing this even at the cost of your honor and prestige. In this way, the way Dhritarashtra was living was actually a type of death. As we remember in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that, dishonor or infamy, is actually worse than death. For a person who actually has some integrity, dishonor is worse than death. So he was living in a way where all his honor, his prestige, he was becoming more or less a charity case. And Prabhupada comments on this, and he says there's two types of people. There's the Kripana, who is a miserly man, and then the Brahmana, who is the educated man, understanding the value of life and how to use the human form of life for self-realization. The word Kripana means miser, and the word miser, refers to a person who likes to hoard wealth, and he spends as little money as possible, kind of keeping it, for afraid that he's going to lose it and he's not going to have it. So he could be a multi-millionaire, but yet he's driving a car that's broken down and wearing clothes that are disheveled with holes in them, and he's just afraid. He wants to hold on to things. And so in the same way, Dhritarashtra, he's trying to hold on to the remaining portion of his life and try to find ways to extract joy from that life, not knowing that actually the life that he is living is actually only bringing on more and more suffering. That the choices that he's made in life with regards to supporting his evil-minded son, Duryodhana, has caused so much pain and has generated so many bad reactions. And he's just now living a life full of suffering. His body is now given up on him, and he needs to know what to do. At 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, when I gave class, I had mentioned about Vidura, that we all need a Vidura in our life. And we all need that friend who's willing to talk to us straight. And we also need to be a Vidura to somebody at some point in our life. We need to be that conduit of Krishna's mercy that's willing to help pick somebody out of their fallen condition and push them on their pathway to Krishna. Because without understanding the purpose of life and being reminded of the purpose of life, naturally we will fall back to the tendencies of just trying to enjoy in this world. The purpose of life, atato brahma jignasa. Now that we have the human form of life, we need to inquire about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why am I here? What is this material world about? Where do I belong? Where have I come from? In the Srimad Bhagavatam 4:22-21, it is stated, "It has been conclusively decided in the scriptures, after due consideration, that the ultimate goal for the welfare of human society is detachment from the bodily concept of life, and increased and steadfast attachment to the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental beyond the modes of material nature." So I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the obstacles in coming to this understanding, especially amongst the elderly, because this is who Dhritarashtra was at this point in his life. He was an elderly man who was attached to his life, wanting not to come to terms with the reality of his current condition. So I wanted to just ask, what would be, and this is just a generic conversation, speaking about specifically when talking about, elderly, and we learn in so many ways that the elderly, need to be respected. They need to be served. The seniors, must be taken care of. At the same time, we also want the seniors to also be very educated and be able to give knowledge and wisdom. What we find, Dhritarashtra's condition is not at all unusual. And in this world, we'll find that people grow into old age and they waste the remaining years of their life. Srila Prabhupada, when he saw that there were old men, they were playing golf on a golf course, and he began to cry out of compassion. Here are these men at same age as Srila Prabhupada, and they're up early in the morning and they're hitting a ball and chasing after it, keeping score, and this is their pleasure. Afterwards they go and have a cigar and, they drink, and then, and Prabhupada, he felt very sad about this, that, they're giving up, their valuable time towards the end of their life, unknowing about the end of life and the purpose of life. How can they advance? They'll just have to take birth again, suffer the results of their karma, and this will go on and on, unless somebody steps in, like Vidura had stepped in, to try to enlighten them, encourage them, and save them from this path of samsara. So I wanted to ask, just as a general conversation, why would an elderly person not accept Krishna consciousness? Having gone through life and life's experiences, why would they cling to a life? What are they clinging to? Let's take a brief moment to discuss this.
Well, there's so many reasons. It said that so because of attachment for material life,
Right.
the severe attachment, and also, it said people's heart has not been purified yet. That's why people doesn't take to Krishna consciousness. And as long as one want to, to satisfy his senses and doesn't get the opportunity to meet any, association of a great soul or great Vaishnava, like Srila Prabhupada, it's very difficult for people to give up this material attachment, which they carries for so many lifetimes.
Very nice, Mataji. Thank you, Golokananda Priya. Attachment, they haven't been purified, so their material desires are still there, and they're still trying to satisfy them in some way. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
They need Krishna's mercy. When they become associated with people like Vidura, they get Krishna's mercy, and then only they can change. They need mercy.
So they haven't been introduced yet to Krishna's mercy.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you. And Kopesh.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. I can think like it could be their own karmas which is stopping to not associate with divine souls. Secondly, the modern society which we are living, like there is no infrastructures enough. Like 99.99%, the association which we are seeing whether it would be education systems from the childhood, like traditions, and all because we are perceiving is through our senses, um, through our ears, eyes, and what we are seeing it. So since Isha Upanishad says that senses are imperfect, and we kind of strongly rely on senses, so we are likely to go into illusion, and we are going to make mistakes, and there will be a cheating propensity. So these are the combinations, because the society in which we live is not Krishna conscious. So one who is conditioned, obviously not going to, because of his own karma, and he's going to accumulate more and more. And of course, there is a Krishna mercy to it, and the fear of losing something. Like attachment is born out of the fear and desires. So that's my take.
Very nice. No, you came up with some good ones there. So no education, people don't know about it. So how are they going to follow? So same as kind of they haven't received, Krishna's mercy. But even as you pointed out, like educationally, there's just no education about the soul. Growing up throughout life, throughout education, and then fear. Fear is a big one. Their attachments. I wanted to throw one in there also, and this also comes due to lack of understanding and knowledge, and that is denial, right? The denial of the idea that I'm getting older. People, they don't want to accept this fact. And I'm going to tell a story, a personal story that I have in dealing with my aunt of this. And there's also this idea of, I'll wait until I get older. I'll wait because there's a denial that I've actually reached that point. I'll just wait because that'll come sometime, without somebody actually telling you that actually, you are older, and the show is the curtains are beginning to close on the stage. So I wanted to share just a quick story, and we all may have stories of our own. Just wanted to amplify this. So I have an aunt, Aunt Joyce, aunt, and she doesn't have any children, but her and my uncle, they always, growing up, they always lived like a very kind of lavish life. They always seem to have money. They always seem to have, the nicer cars, nicer jackets and clothes. They'd always give the best gifts at Christmas. And, I always viewed them as having it together in life. He'd take them to sporting events, this and that. And as they've gotten older, their bodies have different, ailments and things like that. And then they finally got to a condition, over the last couple of years, where they've become more or less invalid. My aunt, she had a hip problem. Before that, she had a leg problem, an ankle problem, tooth problem, and she couldn't get surgery because she couldn't get her surgery on her teeth, so they wouldn't do surgery until she got her problem with her teeth. And things one after the other just started falling apart. And when family tried to reach out, because she didn't have any children directly, so nephews and nieces and cousins tried to help her, sisters, and they were just in such denial that no, I'm getting better, everything is going fine, everything is good, and all she can ever talk about is, I just want one more Christmas. I just can't wait till Christmas. And, one more happy birthday, everybody can celebrate. One more happy New Year that we do, and one more 4th of July. And what are we doing for Thanksgiving? Because this is going to be the best Thanksgiving, and I'm going to cook. And there's such an element of denial that this is actually happening. And when I was reading about this situation with Dhritarashtra, I was thinking just how common this is. My aunt's story, how many people are like that in life, where they're fearing the closing of life because they don't understand what lies beyond. And they have not been given the pathway of Krishna consciousness, where in the pathway of Krishna consciousness, we can understand that this can actually be the last life, and what lies beyond is an eternal life of joyful service to Krishna, where we don't have to suffer birth, death, old age, and disease. We don't have to suffer the pains of this material world, but we're actually given, entrance into Krishna's eternal service. And we have the opportunity to do this to people. We have the opportunity to give it, but it's so hard if a person isn't willing to receive it. Because the elderly are also very times stubborn, in the sense that they have a lot of knowledge, right? Because they have the life lessons, they have the experience. Whatever you're going through, they've gone through, and they can point out to you, you're going to go through it. But unless you've grown into old age and you have not had the mercy of Krishna, and the association of spiritually minded people that can help guide you through this process, it can be very, 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 very unfortunate and sad. It's like Srila Prabhupada crying when he saw, the old men playing golf. We have in this country old age homes, senior homes, retirement homes, and then assisted living homes. So there's different degrees. One is if you need assisted living, where you need like a nurse to actually care for you and be there with you, take care of you. There's those facilities. And then you also have the retirement communities where people have a lot more freedom. You don't need somebody, but it's an environment where elderly people live together and grow old together. And in these places, and there's most of the elderly, I mean, if you're growing up in America, that is kind of the destination. You kind of know that you're going to wind up eventually. My father, and mother talked to me about this, and they said, after seeing what happened to their sister, my aunt, and that how they're just so refusing to accept the reality. He told me, he says, we understand that when the day is going to come and you're going to have to be straight with us, about our condition. Knowing that, okay, there's going to be a time when he's going to have to sell his house. And he's going to have to move in to one of these homes. And, it made me realize that this is in America, there's so many people doing this. And they face depression. They face loneliness. They understand that, perhaps death is coming and there's nobody here to help me. I'm going to lose, my children and my grandchildren and my nieces and nephews. And a lot of times their friends are starting to die and go and leave their bodies, and they're not going to be able to see them. And so sadness overcomes them. They spend their days just doing crossword puzzles and having talks so what I was thinking, and I just want to throw that out there, that oftentimes we don't see this as an avenue for preaching. We don't see this as an avenue for going out and helping people, is the old age homes. And every soul in this world needs to be helped from birth all the way through the end of death. And at any point, if they can get Krishna consciousness, that's important. But specifically, knowing that people have entered into that stage of life, into old age, and if they haven't been given it, which very few people have, there's an opportunity for us to create programs, to give them some hope, give them, and again, this came from Mother Teresa. She said the greatest disease in the world is actually loneliness. She says it's not starvation, it's not lack of nutrition. Because it's something that the most people suffer from, especially in old age, is loneliness. To be a friend of somebody, and then to help guide them through their journey and introduce to them through your love and compassion, the teachings of Krishna, which can help them, and how you help them bring about a change so that as they go through the process of death, this can be their last life. We have this opportunity. We don't have such a program. There have been nice efforts that have been undertaken recently. There was a basket program where you fill baskets of fruits and with a book and taken to old age residences nearby the temple. A couple years ago, this is probably about 10 years ago, Balabhadra Prabhu inspired us to, at Christmas time, to make these baskets and do the same thing and take them around. But even with that, there was no real relationships established. It was a good attempt, and any attempt is good. But to really establish relationships with these retirement communities, assisted living facilities, somehow get in there, do programs. These are people that they don't have to worry about, well, I got this to do on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday because I got meetings and soccer games and, everything. They don't have any of it. They're waiting for people to come and talk to them and need friends and be cared for. So just recognizing that this is an avenue that we could look into. And if anybody's inspired to do this, see it as Krishna's calling, see it as Krishna reaching out. It can be anyone. We can brainstorm and come up with ways by which we can make a difference. And that way we can, honor Vidura in the same way that he helped his brother. So anyway, there are some thoughts that I had. I want to stop here. I do want to talk about the 3 disappearance days that we have today, briefly, 5 minutes each. We have 3 personalities, but I wanted to just stop before we move on to that to talk about any comments, questions, or takeaways that you may have from today's verse and discussion. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mother Vindhyavali.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It's a nice class, and then nice things we have to think about it. As a senior, like you said at the end, senior homes, visiting and like that. I have that ambition since long time ago. So when I was active, I used to do like that.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know I know how to drive or anything, but they don't let me do that. But I have to depend for driving. And there was a senior home close to our house. I always pass by. I tell Shobharadi Mataji, oh, I want to go there once. Not only that, I told my granddaughter, no, you should go and perform your dance once. They all, seniors, they're not all of them like Dhritarashtra. But some of them, they are nice people. But now, of late, in Kali Yuga, seniors are not that welcomed. Okay? And then they don't want any lots of sumptuous food, lot of varieties. No, they cannot eat. Like Vidura says, Mahatma Vidura saying, they cannot eat.
Right.
And good clothes, and they're going like that fashion parade. No, they don't want that. They just want only loving word, affectionate word, nothing else. Wherever they go, they just want that only.
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure that.
Yeah.
Even Dhritarashtra was craving for that. After doing all that also, he wants that family, affectionate life with Yudhishthira Maharaj, okay? So what I'm saying is, I always love to do that. But there are not opportunities that me for that much. And I am getting old day by day. I'm not young. Each birthday, they say one year is gone.
Right.
So that I have that ambition. But unfortunately, I am not able to do.
Well, let's see what Krishna arranges.
That's what I'm praying, Krishna.
Yeah, and so we're bringing this up today.
Every time I pass that senior home, I tell Sobarade, I just told my granddaughters, both granddaughters came once. I said, why don't you perform some dance program or some discussion? You guys know American accent, English and everything. So why don't you do that something? No, everything is gone. And they have their own studies, they have their own jobs, they have their own. Of course, my other granddaughter is sick anyway. But what I'm saying is, though I have that ambition, I'm unfortunately, I'm not able to help. Even today, I feel that I want to do.
Well, let's see if somebody's, inspired. We put it out there, so what starts subtle becomes gross. So, let's see if somebody has desire to try to reach out and maybe together a program or programs at one of these homes. And like you said, it doesn't have to be the sumptuous prasad, because chances are they're only going to eat a little bit or not, but it's really the association,
smiling and loving, affectionate word they want.
Entertainment, some chanting, some talking, listening, etc.
Hare
Mother Lokananda Priya, you have your hand up, and then we can get to you, Mother Shuma.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Yeah, very nice class. It's a good reflection, about, how to help the elderly. I know many times I thought also when I see people, they're just sitting down there. I say, if one will be a devotee, get the opportunity to have the holy name, at least they will take the bead bag, they will start chanting. Sometimes they're just feeling so bored, just sitting there and gazing, it's pitiful to see them. It's unfortunately, like we say, we have so many kind of help. We're trying to help so many young people and the prison ministry and for the old age, for the elderly thing. I don't think so much happening in ISKCON.
Right.
And also, I know there's a famous guru in India, he becomes so famous, by just protecting all the elderly ladies who have been rejected by the children.
Yes.
In Vrindavan, he opened a big ashram. He had like 250. Now he having like so many people want to come. Then he want to open more. So like that, he's a Vaishnava also from other Sampradaya, but he's helping a lot of elderly people by giving them shelter, and encouraging them to engage in devotional service. So that one reflection I have,
These senior homes are everywhere, Prabhu, not only here. In India also, it's a lot of them are coming up. But that reason is nobody knows why. Youngsters, they may not bear and tolerate senior people. So that is sometimes like that Mataji says, it's very sad if they sit alone. They need they have craved to talk to loving people, that's all. Not more than that.
And if they can just find Krishna,
that's all.
If they can just find Krishna, then this could be the end of their life. So many wonderful seniors we have in this movement, and even we have, of course, the Vaishnavas Care program, that helps devotees through their last parts of life, and even then it's a struggle. So it's not like death is just an easy thing to deal with. It's even more so harder to deal with if you're not a devotee. But people that are at the end of their life, the last 10, 15 years of life, if they could just find Krishna, this could be the end of it. And just think how proud Krishna would be, how happy Krishna would be to have these souls return to him. in his eternal service, as opposed to have to return again. And it's on my, became on my mind after reading this. I think about my aunt and how I know she won't accept anything from me. And I'm just thinking, how could I actually reach out to my aunt and get her to understand? I mean, the only good thing is she came one time to the temple with me. So she actually saw Krishna and heard the holy name. She didn't like it very much, but at least she heard it. But I want to tell one other quick story. Haryashra Prabhu, he has a brother named Siddharup, and he passed away. He was a devotee. He was actually a devotee before he made Haryashra Prabhu a devotee. His name was Siddharup. But throughout the course of life, he had a family. His family wasn't really into Krishna consciousness. He had gotten cancer, lung cancer. He was a contractor, and he was dealing with asbestos removal, and he got cancer. And I went with Haryashra Prabhu to the hospital, and at the very end of his life, his last day, Haryashra Prabhu would go there and talk to him and read to him and things like that. He walked in, and I was so surprised. We walked in, and all these family members were standing around, and none of them were really spiritually minded at all. And they were watching TV. He's laying there, obviously getting ready. He's still conscious, but watching TV. I remember they were eating fried chicken. And Haryashra Prabhu was furious. He said, "Turn that off. Turn it off now. All of you, get out of here." And he was just so determined, so angry at the situation that had to be transformed. And he was there trying. He would leave, and he would leave Prabhupada chanting, and he would leave, pictures of Prabhupada, and he'd go away, come back, and they'd have it all rearranged, TV going, food. And he chased all of them out. And he says, now is time. And he says, now he had that life. Now that life is over. And if you want to be in here and help him move to the next life, you can. He said, but that, as his brother, I'm going to protect him. I'll never forget that. And I was there, and I was chanting with him. Mother Shuman, you had a comment, and then I want to read about.
You all said very nicely that it's so important to take care of old people because they feel very lonely. And I remember when my kids were little, they used to take piano lessons from my friend, and she used to teach to her kids also. And she was very much involved in the church programs, choir, etc. And one day, she took all the kids to the nursing home to do the music program. So all the kids, my kids also, they played flute, and other kids, they sang and did piano. And all the senior nursing home people, they were in the wheelchair, and they were all there in the hall, and they were doing this little music program and making them feel better. And they looked happy, because in old age, very difficult to be happy, but they are showing that they were happy to listen to these songs. And so that's what I always remember. They are going to nursing home, and my friend took them there. So same way we can have little program in the senior citizens, because to make them feel good and give them Krishna consciousness in a very interesting way, like little music, so that it appeals to them, and spend some time with them. So that I was just thinking about that, listening to your class. It's a very nice class. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mother Shuman. I think you've hit it on the head, that there's definitely a need out there, and ways that they'll appreciate and start to learn about a Krishna conscious philosophy, music, creativity, drama, but just becoming, developing the relationships with people. So I just wanted to think about it, put it out there, share this class and then the message of this class if you want to. And if anybody feels inspired to want to, start a program, explore doing a program at one of these, homes. See it as Krishna's opening the door, and Krishna's mercy and Krishna's encouragement and guidance.
I love to join that kind of program.
Yeah. So again, think about it, pray on it, and see if Krishna guides you.
If you know anybody has started such program in ISKCON, if you heard something, then maybe we can follow what they're doing.
Yeah, I can inquire to see if anything's going on like that. Yeah. So today I wanted to talk about 3 very important acharyas in our Vaishnav lineage. Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. We'll try to do 5 minutes each on them, maybe shorter. I know the time is, we had some discussion there, so the time is coming up close. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he was born in Benares in 1505, and he was the son of Tapan Mishra. Tapan Mishra was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, when he went there to convert the Mayavadi philosophers. He had the great conversation with Prakashananda Saraswati, who was the head of the impersonalist at the time, and he converted him. He was challenged by him, and he defeated him, converted him, transformed his heart, and made most of the people there into Vaishnavas from Mayavadis. He would stay at Tapan Mishra's house, and Raghunath Bhatta, the son of Tapan Mishra, from an early age of 9, got an opportunity to serve Lord Chaitanya during when he would come for lunch. He would massage his legs, he would wash his plates, and he would honor the remnants left by the Lord. When the Lord left Benares, he became very, very sad, and he waited for the time when he would be able to see him again. At age of 20, the opportunity came for him to leave home and travel. He was not married, and he went to Puri to serve the Lord. During that time, he became the Lord's chef and cook. He would cook lunch for him every day, and Lord Chaitanya really appreciated his cooking. He would also honor prasad with the Lord, and the Lord would instruct him on the principles of Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya sent him back home because he knew that his parents were getting old, and he says, I want you to take care of your parents in old age and help them with their transition. Very in line with our class today. But he told him, he says, do not marry because it'll become an obstacle for you in your path of devotion. And then Lord Chaitanya gave him his Kunti Mala, his neck beads. So he actually had the neck beads of Lord Chaitanya. And then he said, when time is right, you come back to Puri and you be with me. 4 years later, after his parents had passed, he returned to Puri and continued to cook for the Lord. And at that time, he was given his mission, which was to go to, he was given instructions by Lord Chaitanya to go to Vrindavan and assist Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. And he was told, he said, go there to assist them, chant the holy names all the time. And I want you to recite Srimad Bhagavatam constantly. In Vrindavan, as he assisted Srila Rupa Goswami in the care of the Govinda Dev deity. And he also assisted in the construction of the Govinda Dev temple. And he would read continuously Srimad Bhagavatam in great ecstasy. And it was stated that he had 4 different meters or kind of vocals by which he would chant this. And people would come from all over just to hear the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. He was cremated by Srila Jiva Goswami because they're afraid of, at that time, of invaders kind of taking the ruins and body of these great saints. So he actually has 2 two samadhis there in the Vrindavan area, one at Radhakund and the other in the 64 samadhi area in Vrindavan. His spiritual form is Raga Manjari. Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami ki jai. And so he was a great cook for Lord Chaitanya. He assisted in the establishment of the Govinda Dev temple there in Vrindavan, assisting Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And he is very well known for his recitation and inspiring people to read Srimad Bhagavatam. And then another of the 6 famous Goswamis of Vrindavan. So there's Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, who we just spoke about, Raghunath Das Goswami, who we're going to speak about now, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Srila Jiva Goswami, the six Goswamis. So Raghunath Das Goswami, who also disappeared on this day in 1571, he was born in 1495, and he was born in a Vaishnava family in West Bengal. He was the only son. His father's name was Govardhan, and he was a very powerful man in West Bengal, a very wealthy landowner. So growing up, he had the best education, and he actually learned about Krishna consciousness from Balaram Acharya. And through Balaram Acharya, he got introduced to Srila Haridas Thakur. And from meeting Haridas Thakur, the Namacharya, this actually initiated his love for devotional life. This is what's kind of sparked this desire within him to want to explore Krishna consciousness in a very serious way. He heard that Lord Chaitanya was coming nearby to Shantipur, and he had such a great desire to see Lord Chaitanya after hearing so many pastimes of him delivering so many people from their ignorance. He ran away from home at the age of 15, and he went to not knowing where he went. And obviously they're providing him for everything. He has a big house, he has all the facility he wants, all the material things that he wants, and he basically didn't even tell them where he was going because he knew his parents would object. So he just ran away. It was only for several days. But when he met Lord Chaitanya recognized him right away. When he offered his obeisances, Lord Chaitanya put his toe on his head, giving him his mercy. Lord Chaitanya sent him back after several days, to go be with his parents. So that from that day on, Govardhan, his father, made sure that wherever he went, he had a escort, and he had guards around him, and he had guards that kind of guarded the complex so he wouldn't run away again. His father was very fearful that he'd become attracted to the life of a sadhu, and therefore wouldn't carry on the family tradition of being a wealthy landowner. Lord Chaitanya had told him, he said, actually, 4 years later, when the Lord came back to Shantipur, this time Raghunath Das Goswami was able to go meet Lord Chaitanya, but he went with an entourage, so he wouldn't, to make sure that he returned. At that meeting, Lord Chaitanya told him, he says, actually, I want you to go back and get married, become a family man, and in due course of time, your renunciation will happen. When it is right. You'll know when it is right. So he did that. He got married to a wonderful wife, and he helped his father in his business. The time so the Panihati, we hear the Panihati festival. So he heard of this, that Lord Nityananda was coming to Panihati, which is also somewhere nearby that he could reach. So he went to go see the Lord, and the Lord saw him, Lord Nityananda. He offered his obeisances to him, and he told him, he says, come here, you're a thief, Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das was trying to stay away and just offer obeisances from a distance, but Lord Nityananda, knowing everything, he could see where Raghunath Das was, and he brought him over there and instructed him. He put his feet on him. He put his feet on his head, and he said, as your punishment, you will, perform this great festival and feed all the devotees here chipped rice and yogurt. So Raghunath Das, who had a lot of facility, was able to put on this festival, which brought him very, very much, joy, seeing that the happiness of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda were eating very, very nicely and very happy in associating with the devotees. And that festival is still observed as Panihati. One night after he went back, he had some religious obligations that he had to do with the family priest, Yadunandana Acharya. And the guards that day didn't go with him because he felt, okay, he's doing some religious activity, certainly he won't leave. Yadunandana got distracted doing some things, and Raghunath Das took this as the sign of, this is my opportunity to get away. So he left and he ran away, and he traveled 12 days on foot to get to Jagannath Puri. And that time he only ate 3 times. It said that he was, already attracted to the life of austerity, but his only desire was to reunite with Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. He lived there with the Lord, performing great austerities, serving the Lord every day. His parents, found out that this is where he was staying, and they accepted the fact that this was the life he wanted to live. But they didn't want his son to live in great austerity. So using their resources, they would send him, they sent him a personal cook, and they send him, they would send him, care packages, for him, but he wouldn't accept any of them. He would just forward it directly to Lord Chaitanya. So he continued to live in a life of austerity for 2 years like this. And then finally, he told him, please stop sending me things because I don't want to become attached. Even though he wasn't accepting it for himself, he didn't want to become attached to this. So he's really the emblem of austerity and Krishna consciousness, but not austere in the way which he becomes very hard-hearted, but austere in the way he actually becomes very soft-hearted in serving others. It got to the point where every day he would only eat buttermilk. That was his meal, just a little bit of buttermilk. He would offer 1,000 obeisances every day to the Lord, and 2,000 obeisances every day to the Vaishnavas. In addition to that, he would chant 1 lakh of names every day, 100,000 names. He lived in Puri for 16 years with Lord Chaitanya. And before he left this world, Lord Chaitanya told him, he says, please go up to Vrindavan and assist Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami with writing, constructing temples, and excavating the various holy sites. His samadhi, he has 2 as well, can be found at Radhakund as well as the Govinda Dev temple. And in his eternal form, he is Rati Manjari. These are all great gopi assistants of Srimati Radharani. And lastly, I'm sorry for going over just a little bit, we have Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. He was born in around 1520, left this world in 1617. I'll skip a little bit to the transformative point in his life. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj, they were devotees, his family. He had a brother, and then one day they put on a large kirtan festival. And in that kirtan festival, they had a guest of honor. His name was Meena Ketan Ramdas, and he was a direct associate of Lord Nityananda. And as an associate of Lord Nityananda, he was also quite ecstatic and sometimes unconventional in his ways of chanting, etc., due to ecstasy of receiving the mercy of Lord Nityananda. One of the pujaris at this festival, he was not very respectful. And Lord Balaram is non-different than Lord Nityananda. We know this, that this is in Krishna Lila, you have Lord Balaram and Chaitanya Lila, that Lord Balaram is Lord Nityananda. So he made this comment, Minakati Ramdas, he says, there is the modern day Ramaharshana Sutta. And Ramaharshana Sutta was the one that when Lord Balaram entered into the assembly, he was sitting on the Vyasasana, and he was speaking, and he didn't recognize or honor Lord Balaram. And as a result, he met with death immediately. So he's basically saying, here's a person that is unwilling to, recognize the glory of Lord Nityananda. Even though he recognizes Krishna, he doesn't recognize Lord Lord Nityananda. The brother who had defended the Pujari's position, the Pujari actually accepted it as Krishna's mercy, but the brother who Krishnadas Kaviraj's brother, defended the Pujari and basically appreciated Lord Chaitanya, but he couldn't fully accept Lord Nityananda. And this made Krishnadas Kaviraj very upset, and he began to argue with his brother, basically saying, you have to, if you're going to accept one, you have to accept the other. That there's no way to separate out these two great personalities. Directly what he says, these two brothers, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, are like one body. They're equal to in spiritual manifestations. If you do not accept the divinity of Lord Nityananda, you will fall down. To have faith in one and to disrespect the other is the logic of accepting a half hen. And it's basically saying that, a half of a hen, you like the front part of the hen because, you like the back part of the hen because it gives you an egg, and that egg can give you benefit. But the front part of the hen you have to feed, and that costs you money. So we only like half of the hen. But Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they were, like I said, one body that could not be separated. He says, better that you should be an atheist and deny the divinity of both than to be a hypocrite who believes in one and not the other. So that night, after this argument, Lord Nityananda came to Krishnadas in the dream. And he said, "Oh, Krishnadas, have no fear." He says, "Go to Vrindavan, for there you will attain all things." And after saying this, he indicated the way to Vrindavan by waving his hand, and then disappeared along with his associates. So this is accounted for in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, 5th chapter, in the chapter defining the glories of Lord Nityananda Ram. So while there in Vrindavan, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he served the devotees there, engaged in bhajan, and he was requested by the devotees of Lord Chaitanya residing in Vrindavan. He was known as a Kaviraj, one of a great poet, and assisting the 6 Goswamis in writing. He served in that way. But he was requested that there are activities that were not described in full in the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vrindavan Das Thakur, he wrote the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he outlined certain pastimes, but was unable to write about them in full. So he was requested that, please, Krishnadas, can you please, complete this? And very interestingly, his response, he says, when described, he says, to describe these pastimes again would not only be repetition, but they would display arrogance on my behalf, for I do not possess Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's powers. He says, therefore, I shall only present a synopsis of those events that have already been fully described. So again, there were certain pastimes that were not described in full, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he wrote about them, and that was the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But feeling himself extremely unqualified and not knowing if this was the desire of the Lord, he first went to the temple of Madan Mohan in Vrindavan, and at the temple of Radha Madan Mohan, he prayed. He says, Lord, if this is your desire, please let me know, and I will happily do it as a service so that Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are not forgotten. And as soon as he made this request, the garland fell off of the deities and down. And this happened in the presence of many exalted Vaishnavas. And so they took that as a sign of the Lord giving his blessings. So Krishnadas Kaviraj went on to write this great book that we have in our possession today by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, translating it. Yesterday we read from it. Every Wednesday Vishnu Gada Prabhu reads and teaches us from this great book of Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the mood of Raghunath Das Goswami comes out very much. And that mood is that you can't speak or do anything successful without the mercy of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. So he starts every chapter glorifying and begging for the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Advaita, and all Lord Chaitanya's associates. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavrinda. And then he also concludes every chapter. He says, praying at the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath Goswami, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate this Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. He was a disciple of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, again, another great acharya who we're celebrating today. Other books that he authored, the Govinda Lilamrita, which describes the 24-hour period of Krishna's pastimes, a day of Krishna, and the Krishna Karanamrita. He also authored that. His samadhi is at Radhakund, as well as the Radha Damodar temple in the courtyard there. And he is Kasturi Manjari in his eternal Leela. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. So these three devotees, we can pray for their mercy today, so that we can serve Srila Prabhupada, the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and continue on their legacy of spreading and providing pure devotional service to this world. Hare Krishna. And lastly, I wanted to also ask for prayers for Mother Nikunja Gopika, a very dear devotee here at ISKCON Philadelphia. Her mother passed away yesterday, and this was an example of a good way, a wonderful way, the auspicious way to pass away, being very concerned about her mother's spiritual welfare. She provided all the spiritual auspicious things to be present at her mother's passing. Hearing Srila Prabhupada chanting, recitation of the Srimad Bhagavatam and selected special verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. Other auspicious items being around. And we want to pray in two ways. One, for her strength during this difficult time of losing her mother. She definitely needed a lot of comfort and support over these next several months. from the devotees. So we should know about this and offer our thoughts, condolences, and compassion when we're around her. And then also we want to pray for her mother's journey, and that Krishna arranges for her to come back to his eternal service very quickly. So we pray that. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai.
Jai.
Vaishnav Thakur ki.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for like the katha for the disappearance day, apart from your like Bhagavatam katha. So glorifying the best master. Most thing. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Nice class.
So it's Thursday. We have, we'll resume tonight. The Srila Prabhupada Leela night begins at 7 o'clock and Shloka at 6:40. Same Zoom channel. Hope to see you then. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhobhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo
Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.